Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back once again. Today's just going to be sort of an update video on the previous build we did, which was the Raider Clinic or Infirmary, whichever you guys prefer. And long story short, although the build turned out fairly decent in my opinion, I just don't think it really fit in with the Raider style we have going. And you guys gave me a lot of great feedback of some things I might want to try out. So today what we're going to be doing is pretty much just checking out all of the changes and additions I've made to the previous build. But yeah, that being said, hopefully you guys enjoy the update, and without further ado, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Alright guys, so like always we'll start out by checking out the front of the build. As you'll see, it looks fairly similar to before, although we've got a new name now. It goes by the Blood Clot. You guys actually provided me with quite a few cool names to try, but this is really the one that stood out to me in the end. The deck, once again rather similar, but I've chosen to add in a ramp along with just a small piece of plywood there, so that if anyone was in a wheelchair or a gurney, it would be a bit easier for them to actually make their way up inside. And there's also a couple more decorations that may or may not be temporary depending on how much room we end up needing by the end of this town. And that includes some rickety looking walls, spikes with heads on them, and also some littler things like a coffin and a gurney just lying out. And aside from that, a few other things have been just moved around slightly. But really that's about it for the changes made to the exterior. And now moving to the interior, I guess I did end up adding a few more rugs on the way inside, just because I thought this area was looking a tad bit empty. But the majority of the changes I made take place inside here. And I gotta say, for those of you trying builds on your own, if you ever end up with one that you don't really like or you're not proud of, I think really the best thing you can do is just take a small break, get some new ideas, and then go back and make those changes. Sort of like what I've done here. Now in terms of the changes made, as you'll see, a lot of the furniture has been either swapped around or switched out with something that looks a bit more run down. And that bright green, pristine plant has actually been switched out for a rundown Vim machine. And I think even though this is a clinic and maybe that doesn't really belong, it's definitely a much better fit for a Raider style build. Also, a lot of those bright colorful posters on the back wall are now gone. As you guys can tell, in their place now is a shelf with some more menacing looking details. Those being the skulls of different creatures, one being either a ghoul or a human, and then the other being a Brahmin. And there's also a radio up there, just so this remains a somewhat pleasant place to be in. Because, you know, even though they are Raiders, I'm sure they enjoy hearing a good song from time to time. And you never know, it might take the ease off whatever worries they have about their upcoming surgery. One of the other main changes I've made to this room is that I tried to make it seem as though the owner or the doctor here came from Far Harbor, and there are a few reasons to that. Number one is just that it gives the place a bit more of its own style and theme compared to a lot of the other builds here. But another reason is that since we do have this room where he tosses bodies out into on the back, instead of that just being for nothing, he can now deliver those along somewhat of a back alley, although that's not finished as of yet. Although it does end up connecting over to the butcher's store. So I guess you could say that could be a good source of inventory. And this ties into the whole Far Harbor thing because the butcher also came from there, since if you guys saw that video, you will have known that he was an old NCR ranger who was there collecting bounties and has since tried to blend in with the Raiders. So maybe him and the doctor have some kind of a secret pact. Or maybe the doctor won't give away his true identity just as long as he continues to buy his meat. Or I don't know, it could go even deeper than that, in the sense that maybe the doctor used to be the NCR Rangers' old spotter as well, and maybe they're both working here undercover together. But anyways, in terms of some other Far Harbor details, we have the old pirate ship steering wheel, a movie poster, which I think is to the movie that plays on one of the drive-ins on the island. So that was definitely a nice touch. There's also plenty of buoys kind of strung up on the walls. But yeah, I'd say as for the waiting room, that's really about it. Next up we have the Crossroad, which admittedly has stayed relatively similar as for the counter area as well. But as you guys can see, the spot where the hole in the wall is has gotten a bit of an upgrade, if you will. There's a few more of those hanging bodies which we saw in the lobby, but I have tried to stay true to the whole medical theme, so that's why the gurney continues to remain. But I'd say other than that, for the most part, this half of the build has stayed pretty similar to the previous version. But on the other hand, the surgery room has actually changed up quite a bit. Now this is one of the areas where I was really happy with it before, and I didn't really think it needed a whole lot of changing, but after doing quite a bit of thinking, it really dawned on me that it just didn't look like it belonged to Raiders. So I switched up one of the beds with just a dirty old mattress and chose to throw that on the floor. So there's no bedpost or anything, it's just lying way down there. So you could probably imagine that would be a pain for the doctor, but I think it just shows off the economy of this place and how it may not be as well off as a place like Diamond City. Another thing I had to do in here to kind of compensate for putting the bigger sized mattress down there was move a lot of stuff around. So the larger setup with all the medical supplies has been shifted all the way over here to the left. And then the smaller table that was here prior is now on the right hand side. There's also random chems kind of lying around on the floor now. But honestly, I think the main thing this place still needs is quite a bit of blood. Now, at this point, I'm not sure if there is a mod for that, where you can just place down your own blood splatters wherever you want, really, whether it be on walls or even some of the beds that we have here. But yeah, that could be a really cool addition, and I guess there could be a mod for it, and who knows, maybe I just haven't stumbled upon it yet. But anyways, guys, I'd say that should just about do it for today. So hopefully you enjoyed this update, even though it may have been rather short. Now, personally, I'd love to not have to do these again, just because that usually means the builds are good enough to the point where they don't really need it. But honestly, I think needing to do something like this every once in a while is sort of a good reality check, and just kind of goes to show that not every single build you make is going to be that great. And you never know, some people may enjoy it, but I think the bottom line is if you don't enjoy it, then you really ought to go back and try and make it better. All that being said though, thanks again for watching, guys. Feel free to let me know any of your thoughts down in the comments. And I gotta say, I really do appreciate all the feedback you guys left on the last video. That really is the main reason why this update video exists. It is also the main reason why, at least in my opinion, I think this build turned out so much better than version 1. So thanks again for that, and as always, I will see you in the next one.